Believe me, I'm not complaining.
They set this up so that it starts recording whether you call it to order or not.
Is it 7?
No,
Oh, couple
And-
minutes.
we're 7.
Just as an aside, our friend Bruce LaRoche has had surgery, and we haven't been able to contact him either by phone or by email. So it's one of the reasons that Liam Mitchell, as our vice chair, is wanting to meet him this evening.
Got you. Thank you.
And then we'll see what happens. We haven't, nobody's been able to contact him. So,
Nothing serious.
well, he had
He had a pretty serious
a
outbreak.
cancer on his liver, and they basically, we don't know what the outcome's been.
Well,
So,
you know, we're at the age where everything goes wrong.
yeah, there's always an
Like in
issue.
the middle of the night, you wake up in the morning, and it's like, what the hell happened?
3 MRIs this month. Hello.
I was looking for you to
As well be comfortable.
unless Al tries to come on.
Are you limiting him or no? Can he get on Zoom?
He could click on the link that was on the.
Yeah.
agenda.
Oh, okay.
Sure.
So if he's not on there right now, then he's not on there.
He may not be.
Click once, Lisa, so we can
I'm sorry.
click once so we can clear that box up there.
Yeah,
Just
there's a
in the
box.
white space.
It's interfering with your name.
On participants. They say if I lose this, it cause all kinds of problems. So I'm paranoid of the thing.
Yeah, no, you're good. I just wanted to see if there was any other attendees. Someone was like,
Yeah, there's no one else right now. It
And
appears.
I should probably leave it up there like that until
Yeah,
I see.
yeah, that's fine. Doesn't hurt.
Okay.
Okay, start this meeting at 7 o'clock. The commission. We have, let's see, we have approval of the minutes. Obviously, we don't have anybody, our citizens, or so we're looking for approval of the minutes. If I look over the minutes.
Your motion.
I make a motion, we approve the minutes last meeting.
I second the motion. Okay, it's been moved and seconded.
Sorry, the second was.
Jim.
Good.
Sorry.
But I'm looking down, I'm not reading the list, sorry.
If not, so take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? Abstain. So moves. Okay. We got
First item on the agenda, this has been postponed for quite a while. Pat Snow, one of the developers in town, he just finished Holly Court. We just finished providing him, actually it's called Little People's, I believe, homes off of the Berlin Turnpike. He's paid me for them, and they've got meters in for all that, and it's all done. He has another subdivision proposed on 1906 Berlin Turnpike, 3 parcels of property. It was prior to this, it was a small little motel. And what happened when he took over ownership, it was vandalized by the people who had lived there before. And apparently one of the lines had been broken. And he got a bill from Connecticut Water, which was quite large actually, because of 44,000 gallons of water had passed through the bill, actually 4,400 cubic feet. And so it was a large amount of money. So what I was going to suggest, I don't think we should pay for the entire thing, but as a courtesy, I would pay, let's say, maybe $1,300 or some dollar amount towards his payment, because he's going to have a substantial large payment for water and sewer hookup to us already. He's got 32 units in 21 buildings. He's going to be putting in a sewer line underneath the Berlin Turnpike into the east side, because he's on the west side. And so he's going to have a substantial amount of money that he's going to pay us for assessment fees and also connection fees and permits. So I figured as a courtesy, we might want to extend and give him a credit for a small amount of money.
What's the total amount of money that we're talking about?
I would suggest about $1,300 is
No,
a
I'm
reasonable.
saying, what was the total bill?
Oh, total bill, I don't have it with me, but it was probably over $3,000. So I was thinking that, we're still paying for the water. So as a part of that, though, I think that, because it was vandalized, I thought we would do it as a courtesy to him. Now, it doesn't have to be, I'm just suggesting it as
So you want to credit him
Because-
$1,300?
because, yeah, and I would give it to him as a credit when he comes in and does the, rather than having it go through Connecticut Water as a billing entity, because there's no billing, there's nothing to bill right now. So when he goes back to actually pay for any of the payments towards the connection fees, to take that $1,300 credit and apply it towards there.
What's the
Now-
basis of the payment? Is that at cost to us or?
It just to give him something as a
Arbitrary,
courtesy, not the full amount, because we're paying for the water, but just as a courtesy, because he's going to be coming back and billing. Now, you don't have to do anything. I mean, it's not a requirement. I'm just suggesting it.
Yeah, I just feel like we should have a backup to that number.
Why are we being so nice?
I mean,
Well, we don't have to be, because the
Well,
thing is, he just happened to be vandalized, and I thought that would be one.
Yeah,
of
but
the-
that's
Usually
not
we
our
could-
problem.
We
Yeah.
could forgive the sewer, right? Isn't that what we normally do?
Oh, he doesn't have a sewer there. He had a septic system.
Oh, you had a septic
Yeah.
system. So this
Yeah,
just-
because that was one of the thoughts I had, but
Oh,
we couldn't do it with that. So we could table it and decide later on, if you want to do this when he actually comes in with the permits. I'm amenable to anything. I just raise this only
I don't see a
because,
problem with that because of the 32 units that he's going to be hooking up to. We're going to get meter charges. We're going to get hookup fees. We're going to get, so it's not out of the question. Would be a good start. With $1,300 a credit towards this bill.
So we'll recoup that in a relatively small amount of time.
yeah,
I would
oh,
think so.
easily. Because we increased all the rates before too, so. I don't
He's
know.
hooking up the sewer as well.
Yeah.
So that'll be, from now on, that'll be custom, 32 units. So do I,
Just a quick question. So the approximate assessment of the connection charges and the hookup fees will probably end up being $20,000-$30,000?
Yeah, if not a little bit more than
Initial
that.
payments.
Yeah, we'll be getting almost $40,000 on that between the water and sewer hookups and so forth. Each connection fee, he wants to shut off for every unit. There's 21 units, so at least 21 units will be having shut offs.
it's 21 units? not
Well,
32?
32 actual apartment complexes, but 21 different buildings.
Oh,
Excuse me, Ray, can I ask you a
Sure,
question?
anytime.
Does this gentleman have other developments within the town?
He's done Finishers Court over off of Mill Street, just before you come to Cromwell, on the left-hand side as you're leaving Berlin.
Yeah.
That's his project. As I was saying, he also completed the one on the Berlin Turnpike here over by, right across the street from the fire department on the Berlin Turnpike.
The
here.
Berlin
Yeah.
Automotive, next to there.
Yeah,
Or-
the
yeah.
automotive, no, yeah, oh, right. The next building over, correct.
Okay.
Used to
that's the
be.
same guy that just
Used
put
to be
that
a
in.
motel, yeah. Demolished it and put in
Right.
20 units of small homes.
Thank you.
So I just suggested it as a courtesy because of the fact that he's had an issue and he's going to be coming back to us as is anyway with the additional projects, so.
Can I get a motion on the floor?
Are we making a motion for the specific amount or to give
Yes.
credit?
For credit.
Yeah, I just feel like we should have some kind of reason behind the 1,300. Because I hate for like, hey, we're gonna give you $1,300 credit. And he's like, oh, how did you come up with that? And he was like, well, you take it or leave it.
Well, exactly, because part of it is that we're paying for the water anyway. So whatever we're paying for is already lost. In this case, we can't give him credit for the sewer because he's in the septic system. He did have an additional bill he had per se from which he provided me, was $375 from a plumber. just to fix the problem. But at this point in time, there's no value to that because there's nothing there. I mean, they wiped the slate clean.
No, I get it, but I just,
I think he's just
Precedents for
asking
this?
why you chose 1,300.
I just figured it might be fair. I didn't want to give them the full amount because I was looking at $3,000 and I thought that was a little bit
do
much.
you think we should say, hey, we'll pay for half?
Well, that's what it comes down to, probably we're close to half. So.
Well, 3,000 would be 1,500.
Have we done this before?
No, that's another thing.
Or there's no precedent?
No precedent on this. And I don't know if it would be a precedent on it anyway. It's such a,
It's vandalism.
well, it's a different situation because, you know, what we've done in the past, Warren, if somebody's had a problem with the water and had a vandalism that occurred, if they did it, and if it didn't go down the sewer, then we would give them a sewer adjustment, so we would charge them for the sewer rate. So, so that was one of the advantages we did. But in this case, where they have a septic system, there's no measure of that. It's just the water that's consumed that's lost. So,
Right, but we might be setting precedent now.
well, in a way, yes, but you're doing it this way.
So you figure half, Nick, would be that becomes more of a,
Yeah, it's something to point to and say, hey, no, yeah, we'll cover half of it. I feel like we should have some kind of,
Would it be better to go to a per unit basis? You know, in this case, at 1,300, it's about $40 a unit. I'm just saying. To get to some number, so if Jane or John Doe comes down the
Oh.
road, you could have a fallback. I don't know.
Well, if you want to mull it over, I don't really care.
Okay,
We can
that's
think
what
about
we're
it. We can go back and take a look at it more carefully. I wasn't looking at specific numbers. I was just throwing
that
that in.
might be a more of a way to keep it under control, because average person will be one credit for $40 versus somebody that has 32.
Okay, you want to do that then?
Well, can I get a motion on the floor?
Okay, so before we get motion, what's the motion? Review this and table it?
I just as soon move on. I don't think there's anything more we need to discuss about it.
Just table this topic.
No, I would like to keep going with it, and get a motion and give this guy credit if that's what, you know.
Yeah, but
we need to
that's not the
determine
motion.
the specifics of
Yeah,
what we're doing.
what do you want me to do?
Okay, if you want to come up with some idea by the next meeting.
Okay, I'll take a look at it.
Just make it a per unit.
Yeah, that's fine.
Sorry.
Okey doke. AW 4.2, AWWA 2050. Now, I don't know how many of you, I'm sure Warren probably knows, and maybe Nick too, being in the industry, AWWA is a very large organization. It's over 50,000 members. One of the things I just wanted to bring up, they have what they call a 2050. This is a think tank type of thing that they do. And they're a large enough organization that they try to do these things. They try to look into the future and see what's going on in the future. And one of the things I wanted to bring up to this is that they looked at 5 items: sustainability, technology, economic, governance, and social demographics. One of the other reasons I brought this up is because the first item on here, create a one water ecosystem. This is kind of a big theme nationally. A lot of states have actually looked at try to reduce number of water systems, public water systems, by consolidation. I give you an example. Louisiana, for instance, had 400 community systems. They cut it down to 200. And then, if you know, in our state too, Aquarian was purchased by Regional Water Authority, both large utilities, and there's been acquisitions and consolidations throughout Connecticut around on an ongoing basis. So the first item on here is sustainability. And we talk about this all the time. Achieve economies of scale, water systems through consolidation, operational efficiencies. Integrate management of drinking water, wastewater, reuse, and energy utilities. Regionalize water utilities on the basis of watersheds and so forth. It's the first item, and it's really been the same thing that we've been wrestling with the districts over the years. And so it was kind of interesting to see that this was a very big project. And then one of the gentlemen's participants on here is Dave Fox, who's the guy from Reftilis that's going to be doing the subcontract work with Haley Ward for coming up with our report. So I just wanted to mention that as an item.
Yeah, I'd like to just comment on that a little bit. So in some situations, it works out well, but in others, in Connecticut, there's been a few examples where it doesn't always work out great for everybody. We're looking at RWA right now in New Haven. They just decided to purchase Aquarian from Eversource. They're spending $2.4 billion. Who do you think is going to pay that money back? It's going to be their users, the surrounding users. So people's rates are going to go up, and they're beholden to in some cases other company shareholders. So you do lose a little bit of control sometimes.
They're no longer shareholders because they're not a private entity.
No, I'm saying in some other cases.
You still have the inflated corporate level.
Well, the reality is, with the infrastructure we're talking about, you know better than anybody, is that the rates are always going to go up. I mean, because that's what we're facing with long-term solutions, because every time you turn around, you have to replace something, whether it's a bridge or a road or a water system or a sewer system.
That's the nature of the beast.
That's the reality, yes.
But at the same time, we've got a pretty unique situation. As long as the Mattabasset stays where it's at, we've got good water control, and we have an isolated area where we can keep the costs down.
Yeah, to answer Nick's point, yeah, I think you're right, absolutely. There are places where it makes it much more amenable to do, and in some cases it's not. It really depends on the case-by-case analysis, to tell you the truth. But with the regional water authority, and I'm a little bit biased with this, all of a sudden an investor-owned utility now becomes regional water, and I can remember, because when I first started, the regional water authority was New Haven Water Company. And New Haven Water Company wanted to sell all its land holdings to get rid of it, give their investors a big windfall, and basically come back and try to put treatment in as compensation. Well, the state stepped in with Yale and basically put a moratorium in place, and then we have water company lands so that they can't sell land without permission from the state anymore. And that was a big plus, because if you know anything about water supply, Lake Whitney used to be their main supply for New Haven, and it was pristine. Now Hamden and parts of New Haven are built completely around it. It's one of the worst water qualities, and so they had to upgrade the treatment facility there in order to deal with the supply, and that's part of the problem. After a while, you get to the point where you have this contest between, is it better to go to regional or is it go to private? And I think the privates have been losing out because it's a short-term gain. It's not a long-term gain. So, no, that's my soapbox comment. I don't know if you have anything else to say on that one.
No, just it scares me a little bit in our case.
Well, yes and no. I mean, from my understanding from our attorney, who's also with Regional Water, they're going to operate consistently the same. So, but they're going to be operating under one board, and so that the board members of the Aquarian are going to be participating as well. So those towns are going to have a say in their development. Does it mean that they're going to have lower rates? That's another problem. I mean, they all have problems that they have to maintain and upgrade. So,
was MDC bigger than them?
MDC has what? I forget how many. 12 towns? No, at this point in time, they're relatively in number of customers. They're all about equal, 400,000 customers roughly.
Yeah, well, their rates skyrocketed.
Yeah, they are.
But a lot of it was for no reason. They gave up good resources for pittance. They didn't look at the long term, looked at the short term reservoir that they had up there that they were getting. They let it go.
No, they didn't let it go. Which one?
The one up in Farmington River.
Neepaw? No, they still have Neepaw.
They
The Barcamp said they still have, so they actually.
They let go of one of the dams.
I don't think they
Pretty
did.
sure they did.
I'm not aware of any properties that they've sold off at this point.
They didn't sell off, they let it go.
What do you mean by let it go?
They didn't take care of it anymore, so it wasn't.
Oh, I don't know about taking care of it. That's another story. The other thing, as I wanted to mention, as an item on here, is fluoridation facts. Now, fluoridation, obviously, nationally has been in the news, a buzzword for a lot of people. And there's a lot of issues and facts that are not necessarily accurate. And I wanted to bring this up. In my mind's eye, fluoridation from this report that was conducted by the American Dental Association. One of the issues that has been tested for probably one of the longest periods of time, over 70 or 80 years of data to show, and it hasn't shown any impact in terms of hazardous impact to any individuals. And obviously the Dental Association speaks highly of it because it's one of the best things. Now, one of the other things with dental issues, as many of you know, they're associated with heart issues. So this is another issue down the road. Dental health is associated with oral health. So I just wanted to bring that up. And there are reports and studies that have been done. Most of them are very positive. Now, there are a few studies that have been done that are not necessarily of good quality and of concern. These studies I'm going to mention is that they were done in China, Mexico, India, and Iran, where social, national, and nutritional environmental conditions are significantly different than those of the United States, and those had interference, and that was where some concerns about IQs. That's the only place, to my knowledge, that they've had some concerns on that, and the question really what the actual health benefits are. One of the things too here is that currently, that may have changed after a few states have dropped fluoridation somewhere in here.
The water quality would have a big part of that attitude. You know, you mentioned those countries that they tend to be not as environmental.
Well, they have a lot of other issues just before the fluoridation, so that's one of the problems.
And we still fluoride.
We still fluoridate at this point in time. The level has been reduced down to 0.7. At 2 parts per million, what happens is you get actually dental fluorosis, you get mottling of the teeth. And at 4 parts per million, what happens is that the fluoride exchanges itself with calcium. So what it does is then takes away from your calcium, and that's a big concern because a young body or a young child or whatever, if it's losing its calcium, it's going to have a calcium deficiency, and that's a problem. But nobody has anything close to 4 parts per million. Anyway, I was looking at a number here someplace I had it listed. There are currently 377 million people that are having fluoridated water. That was one of the things I wanted to point out, is that it's a fairly large number.
Well, I still remember when I was in the Navy at the base, they started fluoride treatments on my teeth.
Oh,
They said, we're going to try this new treatment for you. And they spit my whole mouth. It felt like it was terrible.
Yeah, 377 million so far in 25
I started,
countries.
it was like 65, I think.
Well, the big key is yeah, you couldn't get too much fluoride, because I remember when the kids were, the dentist wanted to give them topical. I said, no. I says, you're getting from the fluoride toothpaste and you're getting it from the water fluoridated. That's more than enough. And then putting topical treatments onto the teeth is an extra added problem. It's not a benefit. So, but I wanted to raise that. If anybody has issues or is concerned about it, you're welcome to use this book and take a look at it. I've tried to mark it up.
We're at 0.07 parts per million.
And actually, CDC has given us, I would call it an award or a recognition actually for the last 10 years. Our guys have been so good with the fluoride dosages that they've been given recognition by the state and CDC that they've been doing a good job right on the money, which is always good to know too. That's a positive for the fellas.
William, if I could just add a point to that topic. I know growing up as a kid on Norton Road on Wellwater, until I was probably 18 years old, I had more cavities than Carter had pills. My wife's a retired hygienist, my daughter's a dentist, and they swear by fluoride treatments, even sitting in the chair above and beyond the fluoride that we receive in the water. So, yeah, from a professional standpoint.
Yeah,
my experience.
For as much as in the United States, how much they have fluoride, you don't ever hear much about it at all. It's just one of those things that work.
Well, one of the things is, and you gentlemen can recognize, is that a lot of compounds have some risk benefit and benefit, and the risk is usually a cancer risk. They haven't been able to relate that at all with fluoride, which is sort of an interesting topic, because when we do chlorination, when the chlorination forms with organics, they form what they call total trihalomethane. Well, there's a high risk because you're actually drinking chlorophyll and other compounds that are chlorinated and have been known to have cancer causing. So you do have some risk there. However, the risk to the bacteria portion of it is the balancing act, because if you didn't have that, you'd have problems with different organisms and being in the water, and then creating a problem with that.
That's like sodium chloride.
That's salt.
Can't separate them, you're dead.
Oh. Okie doke. Town council meeting. The town council meeting on April 22nd, several of us were there at the time. The Mattabesset made their annual presentation to the town council about their budget. What was interesting about the budget proposal this time is that both Art Simonian and John Dunham got up and made a very strong argument about the fact that their I&I is a huge issue, and that Berlin is in the middle of that process where the I&I is a big issue. And it was made very clear that, and we'll get into some other issues here, but both districts were responsible for a good portion of that I&I. So that was really the first time, I think, that the council actually get that information directly from the Mattabesset administration. 4.5, our attorney D'Onofrio, Jeff D'Onofrio is our town counsel, was recently recognized as one of the best lawyers in Connecticut in his area of expertise. And that I thought that was at least important. In municipal law, his firm and himself personally have been recognized by his peers that he's an excellent attorney. 4.6 Consumer Confidence Report. This year, we reached out to this company called Gemini, and rather than having a print and then a copy of that print in the Berlin Citizen has become sort of a catch-can situation. Some people get it, some people don't get it. Sometimes they're in the driveways. Sometimes it's a mismatch. For some reason, the delivery hasn't been very effective and hasn't been consistent. So this year, I'll have copies for you later on, but this is the copy that comes off our webpage, and then each flyer will be sent out to the customer. So we'll have flyers sent out. So you guys from Kensington.
I think I already got it.
Oh, you got yours already? Oh, good. Okay, I didn't know whether you've gotten it already. And both gentlemen from Kensington and Al, I'll get some extras for you so you can see what it's like.
Okay. It's very well done.
Yeah, I was pretty happy with it. It cost us $5,000. It usually costs us $1,000 to do Berlin Citizen. So for the few extra bucks, you get better quality, better arrangement. And then next year, it's even easier. This year, we've had some glitches in here, but we've kind of muddled through it, and the next year should be better. Connecticut Water Company. Our contract with them is up. Thank God that they decided that they would like to have it renewed. So they're renewing. They have increased their costs, but they were very, I think, generous in upping their costs. It was very small percentage-wise. And then we're looking at another year pending approval. Right now, we're waiting for them to confirm the agreement and the sign off on it. So it's in their ballpark. 4.8, PFAS. PFAS is still a big issue. One of the things is that was interesting to me. I read this on. I also get material from different consultants. This one happens to be from Weston and Sampson, one of the consultant engineers, indicating that most or in the water supply have said that basically a good portion of it, let's see, latest results from work show that 15 million or more U.S. residents are exposed to these compounds. In some cases, they're still in our system. Not so much in the water as they are with still other compounds that still show up with like the food services and other issues. Anything that has any kind of protective material, whether it be carpeting or furniture and stuff like that. So it's still a big issue. Treatment is going to be a problem. That there is an effective treatment. It's usually granular activated carbon and ion exchange. So there is a process. Getting removal of it, getting rid of that problem is another issue because it does take a high heat treatment to break down a compound. This is a little oddball. Speaking of precedents, this is an interesting one. On Deming Road, the town owns technically, I think it's down to 12 units, mobile home units. You might have gone by there several times and seen it on the side. That was put in years ago for compensation for people who are located on the Berlin Turnpike. However, that's also water company land. The facilities director, Doug Solik, reached out to me and asked me, and I told him I would ask the board here, and this is sort of unprecedented. There's a building in front of that 12 units, mobile homes, and basically they're looking at demolishing it, which means disconnecting it from the water and sewer and then demolishing the building. He basically doesn't have the money to actually do the disconnect. The disconnect from the water and sewer will be about $3,000 to $4,000, and he would be utilizing Earth contractors to do it. Earth, of course, is our contractor who does emergency services and regular services for us. So I told him I'd bring it up to you, gentlemen, and then determine whether you felt that that was a significant enough project to do.
That's the property next to Nadeau.
No, it's further down. It's further down by the mobile home park. There's an older building right in front of the mobile home entry. Nadeau is further up. Nadeau is on the other side of Fieldstone.
That's on Deming Road, right?
Yeah.
Closer to the.
Liam, it's almost opposite the entrance.
Yeah, to say
Urban
Aboy.
Rustling.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
It's a green, the structure. Ray
It's a lime
referred to
green,
is
isn't it? Sort of a.
like an off, green, older style cape colored house.
Yeah, I didn't want to make this as a unilateral decision. That's why I'm raising it. This is a little bit of an oddball condition. I've never had this.
But we own the property.
The town owns it.
The town owns it.
Town owns it. But the town has a self-sustaining fund to support that facility. And they collect rent. They've been collecting rent on the units there goes back to Bob Peters' days.
Yeah.
Years ago.
And they reimburse us for the water and sewer for that little mobile home unit subdivision or whatever you might call it.
The town won't pay for the disconnect?
And that's what makes it funny, Nick. I don't know how to explain it. I mean, that's an oddball condition to me, and I don't know if you.
Is there a reason for taking this building down? Is it dilapidated?
I have no idea what they
Eyesore or what?
plan.
Been unoccupied for
Yeah.
probably the past 15 years.
Yeah, it's not a.
I mean, Ray and I have spoken about it. For us to foot the bill, typically the property owner foots the bill for disconnecting utilities, with the demo of the structure. I'm sure they can come up with the money to do it.
Well, yeah.
I'm only raising it. I'm not supporting it. Let me just be very clear about that.
I mean, if
Just
there's an
basically
income
raising
derived
it up.
from this, it should be paying for itself. Why should it come out of our funding?
Okay.
Why don't we just kind of ignore
Come on, we're not Democrats.
Status. Oh, come on. Status quo.
He's been waiting since March for,
I need
A
a decision. If you say no, I don't have any problem with it. If you say yes, I don't have any problem with it. So, I mean, but I'm not going to make that decision on my own. I just want you to understand that.
But the income.
and I thought it was-
Goes to the town, right?
Well, yeah, and I thought it was going to be a simple decision. I thought it was going to be a simple disconnect, so a couple $100, And I said, well, that wouldn't be bad, but when he came back with a $3,000 to $4,000 price tag on it, and I'm not really sure what we're getting out of it, to be very honest with you.
Are they cutting back the pipe to the street?
Yes,
That's what the cost is?
yeah,
They're just capping it, shouldn't be three.
they're well, they have to dig it up, they cap it, and I'm not really sure that the water line has a shut off on there. That's the other problem. There's a little bit of an issue because I think they actually have to go into the streets.
So they
That's
dig a
what,
hole,
that's
put
what makes
cap
it a
in
little bit more
abandon
problematic.
the line, do what they have to, and put
Yeah.
a street drain, a street stop.
The
That's not a
sewer is
big-
pretty straightforward.
Yeah,
Just
you
cap
cap it
off
out,
the
right,
structure
yeah.
and
Well, the water is too, just dig a hole and you could do it on a live line, cut it off and.
Yeah.
do
Yeah,
it.
about.
But.
Well,
if
I'm
they're
only giving
deriving
you
an
an,
income, I
I'm
think
only
that-
giving you an estimate. I mean, I don't have any details, but that's the estimate that was given to me.
We ought to get another contract.
I mean, 3,000 to 4,000 is like a half a day's worth of work now, so it's in line.
Well, yeah, but the question is, do you want to
So what do you guys
subsidize it?
think? They're
So the-
deriving an income from it.
Let
Why
the
should we
town
flip the
handle
bill?
it. Let the town handle it. I say we ignore it.
So the question is, do we want to pay for it? Is that the question?
Yes. yeah.
No.
Well, no, I'm not saying we should. I'm saying that's
Can
his
we just
question.
put that
You're
into,
jumping to the
Do
answer
you want,
already.
you want to put that into a motion?
so that facilities has a defined answer.
Exactly. Yeah,
Do I hear a
I-
motion?
I want to go back to Doug and say, listen, we brought it up, we discussed it, and we basically either denied it or approved it. I mean, whatever you want to do.
Looking for a motion.
I make a motion that we deny it.
We have a second?
I'll second it.
We have moved and seconded. Do we have any discussion? Seeing none, can we take a vote? All in favor?
Favor to deny it, correct?
In favor
to
to
deny it.
I
How many?
did everybody?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm gonna abstain because I don't.
Okay,
have enough
okay, you're all
Gonna
set.
say-
So in other words,
What?
Yeah, there you go.
okay, okay, so
One abstain
motion,
and,
motion carries then.
motion carried.
Thank you. I think I might have mentioned this last time, so I just wanted to show some pictures for the gentlemen that haven't been here, particularly you, Jim, too. And I don't know if you've seen these in the past also, Nick. The gentleman from Waterbury who's since retired, before he retired, showed me a couple of pictures of pipes that they've had. These are all concrete pipes that they've had burst. And this is one
Water
of the,
pipes?
excuse me?
Water pipes?
Yeah, water
Yeah.
pipes. These are coming off of the 42-inch from Waterbury going
Wow.
into the city.
And it's coated inside.
And you can see that this is blowing out the whole roadway. That was one. That was the one that happened in July. Then he had an earlier one. This was one where he was able to get successive pictures. This is the start of a break. Now they have twin 42-inch, 42 or 24. I can't get the numbers correct. Two twin lines coming down. One of them burst. It's a concrete pipe. When it actually did let go, it came up with and then it blew the shingles off the garage next door to it. It's with the force that it had, and this is how it blew up the pipe itself.
How old was the pipe?
In the 30s or 40s, something in that range.
That's 50 years old.
Hey,
Well,
last
yeah.
100 years.
And that was one of the
My
rationales for me to go through and have the concrete pipe on the Berlin Turnpike replaced. And then the other thing is true. You're looking at this. This is a hard job to repair. I mean, in this case, they've connected it, but what they're going to do is slip line it in the future. They're going to line the whole pipe interior wise because they're afraid that it'll break in some other location as well, being what it is. So that's a matter of infrastructure issues. I just wanted to bring that up because I might have mentioned that before and I had it on my list here.
You're showing them this because
The pump
it's your rationale for replacing the Berlin Turnpike
pipe, correct.
But what about relining? It's
This is
good
for
or
that.
bad
That
to
has
reline?
nothing to do with
That's
that.
gonna be their solution
Yeah.
but also we have Kensington that's got two 20-inch
Well,
water
yeah,
lines.
that's
too.
another story. Okie dokie. Now, getting back to the meter customers, we put this down as a generic term. That's one of the reasons Jim's here. If you recall, and Jim, you're fresh with this, basically, Farmington Avenue, and I don't know if, Jim, you want to mention the whole story here, and then we need to take a vote on this.
I don't know if we should, for those of you who were here in the past, 3 or 4 months ago, we went through a scenario where I own a piece of property on the corner of Farmington Avenue and Serial Drive. And to make a long story short, the Worthington Fire District was voicing concerns with a private water line that was installed on the property that we installed 20 years ago. We had a concern with flushing of a hydrant. We have a 8-inch line that runs into the property. It services the Farmer's Cow restaurant and will provide for future development in our old construction building that was out back. Long story short, the fire district came to me and looked for us to install a new water line, a separate service line to the Farmer's Cow restaurant, voicing concerns with stagnant water within this 8-inch line that the service connected into the restaurant, and beyond that, the line runs about 60, 70 feet to a hydrant where the water's blown off and flushed once a year. I just flushed it this past weekend. It was flushed last fall. I had water sampling done. The water was fine in the restaurant. They were making claims about the potential for Legionella to develop in the water because it's stagnant, which I presented a whole case to them before their board back in February of this year. They just poo-pooed the whole idea in terms of how I was objecting to their concerns. We did a little bit of research on the property, and lo and behold, for those of you that were here during that discussion a few months ago, come to find out, our property and all of the properties along the north side of Farmington Avenue down essentially to CVS, back to Stop and Shop around Mercerio Drive, including the moving company that's there, the VFW, are all within the territorial limits of the Water Control Commission. My parcel originally was connected. My dad built the building back, the former building back in the 50s, was tied into Worthington's water line at Farmington Avenue. It was the only source of water in that entire area. Since then, back in the 80s, and as part of the townwide water system, the town installed a water main on Mercerio Drive. In the early 90s, installed its own sewer line on Mercerio Drive, which all these properties are connected into. I brought the case before the commission, pleading the case, explaining that all these properties are actually within the territorial limits again of water control. And I made the case again to the Worthington Fire District that they have no jurisdiction whatsoever. They just poo-poo it. They responded back to me saying, well, our GIS mapping shows that you're in our territory. GIS mapping, for those of you that know, I think the first thing you're going to see is a disclaimer in terms of record keeping. They're not really accurate. Typically, they're used as a guide. I provided the commission, and I can go out and get them. They're in my office, with probably 20 different plans that have been prepared over the years by a number of consultants, putting together our water distribution plan, our water and sewer lines, our water supply plans have been developed over the years. All of these plans, and they were developed by consultants, not necessarily from the town forces themselves, all showing the limits of water control's territory, being in that area that I'm speaking of. So I know that this was back probably 2 months ago, Ray. Correct me if I'm wrong.
It's about
The
right.
commission discussed it, and Chairman LaRoche signed a letter and a directive to the Worthington Fire District stating that 1257 Farmington Avenue, 152 Serial Drive, which is the VFW Hall, and several other properties along that stretch of Serial Drive are within your territorial limits. The letter requested that a time be set where the two utilities could get together so the meters could be swapped out. And then water control would administer the billing within those areas. There was never a response back to Chairman LaRoche in regards to that. And keep in mind that, you know, we've been paying the property tax all these years within an area that we're not even technically within.
You got a refund, right?
Oh, property tax of Worthington Fire District.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Not to mention that Stop and Shop's probably judging
Stop and
my
Shop is
bill.
one of those
Well, we
also.
never get a reply with that also, but that's another story, another time, so.
Well, they're paying over 10.
Okay, so I guess we're looking at some kind of an action at this point in time. As mentioned, there was a letter by Bruce LaRoche. No follow-up action. I think at this point in time, I think we should be giving them an indication of when we would replace the meters. And then either you or Bruce, if Bruce is available, I would suggest to send a letter and say at such and such a date where.
Absolutely, and I don't want to sit on this. We were to give them 2 months. They ignore everything we give them. So, you know, as far as I'm concerned, that if the commission allows it, then we release the meters as soon as possible.
Okay, so I can draft you a letter and then attach Bruce's other letter, which it was, like you pointed out, hasn't been responded to. And say by July 1st, we can put in another meter.
Want to make a
at that
motion
location.
right now and get that?
Can I ask a question? Okay,
Sure,
if we put in the meters and that, who's paying for that? Is it,
Same people pay for it.
huh?
Oh, as far as the meters themselves,
I mean, is it the Berlin Water District? Is it the Worthington Bridge? Is it
Oh, it's our meter, so we put in the meter in
Oh,
an
okay.
RF device. So he'd be a customer of ours now, including the VFW would be a customer of ours.
And they're not a customer of ours right now?
right?
No,
How come?
Because we just explained that earlier.
And,
I
you know,
must have missed
shame
that.
on me to a certain extent.
well, no, it's not an easy one because this is the other argument we have. We have customers that we bill that are theirs, not Worthington so much as Kensington, actually Worthington too, but as Kensington, and then just the opposite. They have our customers that they bill and we switch back and forth. And that's a problem. It's very difficult to maintain and cooperate with this. What Jim is pointing out though is a little bit different because it's outside their service area provided at this point in time. And actually it's a separate main, I believe too, isn't it?
Yes,
So it's a little bit different than that, from that perspective. There are, you know, they could, what they've done is in the past too, for instance, at Worthington Ridge, going up towards the Berlin Turnpike, we have about I think a dozen customers there that used to be on Worthington's line but they abandoned the line and they're using our line, so they're technically using our water. So we get reimbursed for that every quarter, but they're not our customers, technically speaking. So it's a little bit of a mess. So if you missed it, you're not the only one.
At the same time, I was under the impression that if they are on our sewer line and they are on our water, that becomes our customer, even though it may be in their territory.
Correct.
Is
Is Ray saying similar to the Berlin Turnpike? We have
Yeah, DNO.
Right.
number of-
But are they subject to the 2% tax that they give since they're our customer?
That's their decision. It's not ours.
They tax them because the properties are actually within the territorial limits
Okay,
Yeah.
of their jurisdiction. Where in my case, we've shown,
right.
provided them with all the record keeping that shows that we're not even in their district.
Yeah.
Looking forward to your rebate.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to your rebate.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen, but
And one other thing I can offer, you know, Worthington kept saying, well, we're worried about chlorine and residuals in the water and the potential for Legionella in the restaurant. And when I spoke to the Farmer's Cow folks, they have some particular equipment in the kitchen, they have these air fryers where they actually have to regulate the amount of chlorine that goes into that device, because if there's too much chlorine, it upsets the cooking process and the taste of the food, where they actually need a lower chlorine residual in the water for the machinery to run properly. And I explained that to Worthington, and
Anyway, so,
There,
on the floor to put a motion to, replace these meters.
just another little comment on that. They're making a big issue about, Legionella. Legionella is primarily an inhalation issue. It creates Pontiac fever and is associated with that situation. So it's not necessary. And Legionella is ubiquitous. It's everywhere. The only issue is that when it becomes high enough concentration that it becomes a problem. But again, not by ingestion, by inhalation. So you get a humidifier, you get all kinds of units that use water and aspirate it. That's where the problem occurs.
Not Webster Heights.
What about Webster Heights? Well, they don't, they're not aspiring there. So. Okay, we want to make a motion here?
I'll make a motion to send a letter and give them a date to replace the meters.
Okay.
July 1st.
Yeah, let's look at that tentatively to see if that's a decent
July
day.
1st.
That's 2 weeks.
I'll second it.
So
Okay,
we got a motion, first and second. Do we have any discussion? Lisa, you got something to say?
All those in favor?
Yeah, I was in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
unanimous. Okay, that's good to know. Okay, item 412. This is another one, a 5-year, seems like everything's coming up on MOUs and agreements. Cromwell Fire District memo agreement. I enjoy working with Cromwell. They're wonderful people, and they've basically been pretty good and pretty fair. We purchase water on a seasonal basis from them from about May to September, depending upon the type of year it is. If it's a dry year, we go a little longer. However, it primarily serves the East Berlin area. We're looking at another 5-year agreement. Our attorneys made a few little modifications to that. We'll be getting that back shortly, and hopefully we'll have that signed by the maybe next month, early next month. 4.13, finally got the approval from Meriden. Their town manager signed off on it. The Berlin-Meriden agreement, which now allows us to make and go forward with our proposal to interconnect with Meriden along the North Colony Road, which is along the Berlin Turnpike. This basically allows us to make that connection and then provide service to us so that we could take our tank out of service hopefully next year and basically work on the interior corrosion that we've had. We've had 2 companies come in. I'm still waiting for one report. Cortec did an analysis, verified the corrosion that we had from previous years, and I'm waiting for USG, which is another company who basically is looking at that, and I'm hoping to see if they cooperate each other in terms of the corrosion that's within the tank. So that's a real positive. That is a DWSRF loan, so we'll be taking the loan. Project's about $1.6 million. The final issue, well, not consider the final issue, lead and copper rule revision. Both Lisa and I have been working on this. Unbeknownst to us, there was a lot of missing data. We were a little bit disappointed with the fact that a lot of this should have been put in by the intern and never was. Out of that, though, we have 350 out of 2,700 or something, 2,800 customers. We have 350 unknowns, which is not bad. Little by little, we're chipping away at that and sending out letters every quarter roughly to try to see if we can get people to identify what their service lines are. Obviously, the intent here is to eliminate any kind of lead, particularly lead connectors or galvanized piping. Galvanized piping has also been an issue because apparently with the galvanic corrosion that occurs in galvanized piping, there's some limited amount of lead that comes off as well. So, and we've only had a handful, so it's only a very small percentage.
Now, we're paying for the replacement of those lines?
That's another story, not yet.
Because I thought they owned it from the curb line to the
Correct,
house.
yeah, that is a debate nationally as well as statewide, because some towns are paying for it, some towns are not, and then
What's ours?
we haven't come to that point yet, so frankly. A few people, when I pointed out to them that they had either a lead or a galvanized piping, a couple of them said they're gonna replace it right away, because they're replacing it because they know their value of the home will be commensurate with that replacement. Then you can say you're lead free, and that's, so if you're selling your, but other people, like human nature, they put it off.
You could, maybe we could set up some kind of a program to where that they pay it over a certain amount of time at a very low interest. That way there we get something going and it doesn't fall totally on the taxpayers to pay for these updates.
Yeah, I mean, that's a little premature at this point in time. I don't have a good handle on what that is. We do need to make some serious improvements in the East Berlin system, main replacement and main relining, which has nothing to do with the individual service connections. But when we're making those service connections, we might be able to give them a better cost for service line replacement.
If they hook it up at the time that we're doing it.
Yeah. Again, going from the house to the service home, that's theirs typically. Going from the service line, from the curb box to the main, that's usually our problem. And that's another story. So, but to answer your question, Warren, it's been inconsistent from utility to utility. Some people are adamant that they don't want to pay anything extra, and that's the way it is. But some of them have actually paid for it.
Well, if
And,
we have that
and
system
the going rate is about $5,000 to $8,000, depending upon what it is. So it's not a cheap venture if you want to replace it.
Yeah, but if we have that system in place, that it's a no-brainer, you already have the answer to they want to replace it, we can deal with it that way. And it
Yeah,
makes-
but I don't have enough now to do that. I mean, really.
I mean,
You
it's a
wouldn't
policy.
you wouldn't do that until you got a pretty good picture of how many people are out there and how many
Once you
would
have a
need it.
contractor to replace the main,
Yeah.
you could use him to work a deal for each
Right,
person.
yeah.
At that time, and if they don't want to
You might
replace
be
it,
able to subsidize it by, it's just like mobilization. Once you get somebody mobilized there, that's a good cost reduction, overall cost for the actual work.
you're
So,
going to dig it up the street.
Yeah.
One time.
exactly.
And our responsibility is to the actual street line of the right of way, and from there into the home. Whether, we were entertaining a replacement of the main, we were replacing the service to the street line, whether the contractor could just pull the line through, from the interior of the basement. That's
Well, if we had it to what our policy is ongoing, it would take the burden off, and if somebody was questionable and they were conservative, they would be able to have it done, and that way it's done right now instead of it prolonging. It's a matter of policy.
Okay, last item is just sent out the invoices to both districts for the Mattapassett bill. The Mattapassett bill, roughly in rough numbers, is about $3 million. We wire that on July 1st to the Mattapassett, so they're getting their $3 million right off the bat.
Who is it that pays the full $3 million?
We do.
We do.
Berlin Water Control, it's not the town. Berlin Water Control comes out of our budget.
But that includes Worthington Village and Kensington.
Yes,
right?
sir.
Yes. Now, what I sent out, and I think it's gonna, Jim knows because we've gone through this very quickly. It's not the best way to do it. The best way, we talked about this afternoon, and we'll get into it a little bit later, is the point that if you were doing this thoroughly and accurately, each entity would be metered separately, so that you get a perspective of what Kensington has, what Worthington does, what we have, Berlin Water Control. We're so intermingled with some things, we can't separate that out. Warren, you're more familiar with anybody, is that we when it comes to Worthington, for instance, they have a lot of inputs into our system that are unmetered. So we have no idea And we know that they have a couple areas that are very high in I&I. And they won't tell us that, but we've done some work on our own and have indicated that that I&I exists. So when you go back to the invoice, now, Kensington made a big point for me personally, Berlin Water Control, to use the Baxter Avenue meter. So I used that data this time. And they're not going to be happy with it because it's a substantial amount of money that they're going to owe, something in the vicinity of 1.8, 1.9 million. And our cost is going to be probably 800,000, something in that 850,000.
But give them an idea of what it was before the meter.
Before the meter, it was about 1.3.
So this is what we've been eating all this time.
The 500,000.
Oh, yeah.
So in other words, what I'm telling you now is I suspect that Kensington's going to come back, and they've done this in the past. You might find this a little funny. I've sent them an invoice, they cross out the invoice and say, we're going to pay last year's bill. That's what they sent to me and tell me what they want to do. In Worthington, on the other hand, I send them an invoice and say, we've done this and this, and they cross it out and say, no, I don't want to pay for the fence. I don't want to pay for this because I don't feel it's necessary. And we're stuck. I can go to court over a few bucks, or I can just sit there and take it. And that's really exactly what we've been doing over the years. So the point is that Berlin Water Control has many, many times, and I looked at this historically, I still can't in my own mind figure out why we've always paid the bulk of the costs when we had the least amount of customers. Systematically, it doesn't make any sense to me. But anyway, a lot of strange
Let's get
things.
into the executive meeting.
Yeah.
Can we discuss this in executive?
Yes, we will. I just wanted to.
I have some strong feelings. about
Okay.
this.
Well, here's the point, though. I just wanted to
Don't hold back.
let you know that that the Mattabesset invoice is going out, and fully well, we're going to probably see something that's going to be a little odd coming back.
Now, have you already paid it?
No, July 1st it's paid. It goes
2
by
weeks.
wire transfer by July 1st.
Okay, good.
I don't know what that means, but
Yeah,
anyway.
no, you might have some.
I guess I'll find out in a few minutes.
Ray and I used to hand deliver the check.
Yeah, we delivered 1.3 million. A couple of times we just wanted to go to the shore, but anyway, but anyway, the reality is it's gotten to be such a large amount that now we have to wire transfer it and make it clear, and we don't want to be handling a check of that and then losing it for some reason. Or putting it in the wrong
Okay,
pocket.
I have a motion to go into executive session.
Okay,
I make a motion.
Need a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion?
Just,
okay, you can stop the actual recording, right?
I'm hoping I
the
can
video.
pause
That pause button right there, bottom.
recording.